So what do you want to talk about?
I thought you were going to talk about.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So the vaults. The U.S. government, no other government, the U.S. government commissioned them from Vault-Tec. You listening to this?
Oh, yeah.
Project Safe House. Guess how much money it took?
Are we talking? We're not talking.
We're talking
tax at this
Fallout
point.
inflation money.
This is Fallout inflation money.
Yeah.
Is it? It's like, isn't it in the trillions? It's like 2 or 3
no,
trillion.
it's not trillions.
No?
It's about $500 billion.
All right, so at least a couple billion.
Yeah, a couple billion. You know, like a Tuesday going out to lunch.
Yeah.
It was estimated to be 400 billion. Actually, turned out to be over 645 billion, and they made 122 of them total. Now, each one could hold about 1,000 people.
That's 122 numbered vaults.
122 numbered vaults. That's about how much there are. There's also a bunch of other ones like
Vault Zero.
Yeah. The one that's in DC that's like not really a vault because
Yeah,
it's in the
that's
museum.
the museum vault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But numbered vaults, ones that were meant to be known by the public, are 122. And don't get me started on how much it fucks with the lore about Fallout Shelter. Like, I'll watch somebody play Fallout Shelter and like, oh, I'm in Vault 25. Like, no, you're not. That's not the experiment.
Yeah.
Or
I purposely made my vault 123.
that's
when
what I
did.
did.
When I
Yeah.
did Fallout Shelter.
Yeah, because I got to keep it canonical.
Yeah.
So, each one was supposed to hold up to 1,000 people. Life support systems could last up to 900 years, and the life expectancy for a person in the vault, and I love this, was 92.3 years.
Really?
The vaults, because they're just such, like, they're pretty much like essentially they're just hamster cages, really.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
I mean, what we get to see in the Fallout games is a lot less than what they conceptually are supposed to be.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's just system issues and being able to render that much of a space.
Yeah, that, and I think that's just a great kind of cop-out for, like, how they say...
Oh, yeah. 4th of July.
Oh, yeah. How they say that, they kept doing... within the lore, a lot of it says that before the bombs went off, they were doing tests. So a lot of people were like, oh, it's a false alarm. We're doing another test. So when the bombs actually dropped, everyone was like, I'm not partaking in the test. This isn't real. So by the time everyone got vaporized, they were just like, oh, we're dead now.
Yeah, I too say, oh, I'm dead now when I get vaporized.
Oh, every time. One time, I died.
Yeah?
Now, these being these giant hamster cages, essentially, they were built with giant furnaces. I assume that they would be in the basement. I don't know how you have the basement.
Some kind of not control room, but like some kind of utility type room.
Yeah. They would burn garbage and people.
Oh.
Because when you got old and you died, they couldn't go outside and bury you.
Well, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Are vaults people powered?
We'll get to that. No, they are actually, depends on which one. Some of them, I believe some of them were solar powered, some of them had nuclear reactors, some of them had, I have it written down, wait till we get there.
Yeah.
And so now the GECK, which everyone who's played Fallout 3 should know about, because that's kind of like the whole point of the game.
Can you tell us what
GECK.
what GECK stands for?
The Garden of Eden Creation Kit. Not every vault got one, though.
They were supposed to.
No.
No?
No, not everyone got one. Some of them got one, some of them got two. Vaults like Vault 101 didn't get a GECK because Vault 101 was never supposed to open.
Yes.
So Vault 3 opened 20 years after the bombs went off, but when they opened it up, a bunch of raiders came in and just ransacked the place.
Yeah. Did that GECK ever get put to use? Or was it just destroyed in that raid?
I don't know if that one had one. No, that one did have one. I would assume that they okay, I want to say this, and I don't know if I'm right. I think the Great Khans came from Vault 3.
I think that sounds familiar. It's one of the raiding clans came from that entire thing.
No, I think it is Vault 3 is where the Khans came from. Because don't you go to Vault 3 in New Vegas? That's where Motor Runner is.
Is that Vault 3?
Yeah. No. I don't think it was, because Vault 8 opened 10 years after the bombs had dropped. Now, for the people at home, hello people at home, for the people at home who are listening and don't know what I'm talking about, most of the vaults, you would think because they were sold as a way to survive the nuclear holocaust, they actually had nothing to do, most of them had nothing to do with that. Out of 122 vaults, most of them were social experiments. So,
I always found that very interesting.
Oh, I love it. I think that's honestly the best part of the game is just to to play it and go to these vaults and see how fucked up humanity was.
Yeah.
That we would pretty much do experiments on ourselves. Like one of my personal favorites, Vault 12, when they shut the vault door, they left it just a little bit open, just enough so radiation would leak in, and everyone inside, if they didn't die of radiation poisoning in Vault 12, when they actually like got control of everything and knew what was going on, when they left the vault, they started Necropolis. It's just a city of ghouls. I love that. Vault 13 was supposed to stay closed for 200 years, but the broken water chip made them leave 84 years after the bombs had dropped. Vault 43, 20 men, 10 women, and a panther.
You see, that's a really fun one. Because alright, put yourself in these people's shoes.
Yeah.
I'm going to get saved from the nuclear apocalypse. I get into this nice vault, get on the jumpsuit, and then you just hear some purring. It's like, oh, someone brought their cat in, yeah? And then you turn around and you see a huge fucking panther.
You know, it's funny you say that someone brought their cat in. Because I've always had this like, idea. In the Fallout games, you run across dog meat or vicious dogs, and in Fallout 4, there's now cats.
Yes.
So, say you got a control vault. Like, say 13 stood closed for 200 years and everything worked out. There's no cats down there, right? Hear me out. Do you think when they left the vault, everyone would just be allergic to cats?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I think that depends when the vault would open, because that, I think from like a medical sense, that resistance to allergies would be carried over for at least like a generation or so. But
200 years?
But 200 years is a lot, so I'm thinking that they would probably be pretty allergic to those kitties.
Did you ever see the episode of Futurama where it's one of the first episodes, I think. Fry's like, oh, the future, and he sneezes, and Professor Farnsworth's like, oh no, he has the cold, and it's like a massive epidemic because the cold has been totally eradicated because they had the cure.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, these are things I think about when I'm
Germs
cold
are crazy.
and alone. What? No, but 43, 20 men, 10 women, and a panther. What's your strategy of getting out of that?
My strategy for getting out of that, if it were like a realistic sense, would be to get everyone in like a couple squads and then try to ambush the panther. In a zany Fallout way, I would try to befriend the panther and then make it eat my enemies.
I think I would try to like section off the kitchen.
Just leave him in the kitchen?
No, like for myself.
Oh, okay.
And like hang out with all the people and then wait, like build up that I'm this massive just conqueror of beasts on the outside, and then be like, I can't fight him, he's expecting it. And then like, let's just say panthers live for 15 years, and I would already know this, and I would just make up some bullshit story. Wait till it's like old and decrepit, and then murderlize it, and then everyone looks at me as a hero.
I feel like you wouldn't last that long. People would get picked off too quickly.
Yeah, but if we sectioned off a certain area... See, I think some people are going to have to be cannon fodder. Like, I think we're just going to have to get, like, sorry, Jim. Like, you're done.
Sorry, Jim. The cat needs to be feeded.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. Only the strong will survive, or the people who are mentally strong enough to tell people that they're not strong enough.
Oh, that's an interesting...
You know what I mean?
Interesting way to think about it.
Like, look at the Republic of Dave. That is an insane man.
Oh, yeah. He's absolutely batshit.
Yeah, and they have totally just listened to everything he says because he has a gun and he's
and a
charismatic.
commanding tone.
Yeah. So, Vault 76, which they're literally making a fucking game comprised around.
What do we know about 76 so far?
I'm sorry?
What do we know about 76 so far before
All we know about...
Fallout 76?
So, I was always under the understanding it opened 20 years, but 20 years after the bombs dropped. But when I was watching the E3 footage, it was saying that it opens 25 years after. So,
Well, I think the mechanisms, from what I've heard, the mechanisms were allowed to be opened 20 years after, but they took like a 5-year sabbatical just to like say, all right, we can go out if we want, but is everyone really ready? Are we mentally ready to go out and see what's out there? Like, they had the ability, I'm sure, at any point. And I feel like that would have been a compelling reason to have NPCs in 76. Like, the early adopters went out and started doing things. And I think that those people could have created a pseudo new society and still left room for us as the player of Vault 76 to leave that extra 5 years later. So I think my favorite vault is the one in Fallout 3. I think it's not 87, maybe 92. Is it the one with the white noise and the musicians?
Yeah, you know what's really cool about that vault?
Tell me about it.
I was just reading something about it. I actually don't have it in my notes, but I was on Twitter, and a guy, I think his name is Doland, or Donald. This guy was replaying Fallout 3, and he got to... I'm pretty sure it's 92.
I'm pretty sure it's 92.
He got to 92, and if we're wrong, sorry, Internet. But he got to 92, and the guy who's in charge of that vault, his name is Richard Rubin.
Oh?
Like Rick Rubin. Like the dude who's fucking started Def Jam.
Yeah?
Yeah, like that's so cool.
I never realized that.
Yeah. I didn't even notice that either, and he put it up there. He's like, of course it'd be. And I mean, Rick Rubin's worked with everybody. Rick Rubin's worked with Slayer. Yeah. Like Slayer, Jay-Z, the Beastie Boys, like a ton of big people. You know what's
It was 92.
It was 92?
Yeah.
All right. You know what's another great vault? It's never shown up in a game. The jumpsuit has shown up in 3, but it was from the Penny Arcade comic.
Yeah.
Vault 77.
I like this vault.
One man in a box of puppets, and he just fucking... I love that. I just reread the comic for the first time. And...
I've never actually read it.
No?
No.
Dude, it's great. He's like... He's got a little vault boy, and he's like... The vault boy's like, you need to kill the king. And he's like, I'm not killing the fucking king. And then he kills the fucking king.
Oh my god.
Oh, dude, it's great.
How could he? So, what do you think about the controversial Vault 95 from Fallout 4? The one that was
that
supplied,
breaks lore?
Yeah, the one that was supplied with a generous amount of jet and other things that were developed after the bombs have dropped.
I was watching an Oxhorn video on it, and he was saying that maybe because Myron, who discovers how to make jet in Fallout 2, maybe because he was such a smart kid, found like the original blueprints or something of how to make jet pre-war.
So it could have been a pre-war type thing that he was able to replicate.
Which I can see. It's also one of those things that I think is so minute that they didn't have to retcon it. Like, apparently in Fallout 1 or Fallout 2, I don't remember reading this ever, but it says the power armor has a battery in it that could last thousands of years. And then in 4, you need fusion cores. So...
I mean, there needs to be a point from a game design standpoint, a reason for the suit to have a power source.
No, yeah, that's what I get, because like, it makes it more interesting. It makes you like me playing, if I'm in my suit, I'm like, oh shit, I only have 2 cores left, and I gotta go all the way. Like, I'm not gonna fast travel.
It gives you a reason to adventure.
Yeah. And,
like, is that... Oh, that old building's kind of corporate-like. It might have a generator in the basement.
Yeah, exactly. But, like, I like the idea of let's put a bunch of junkies and vagabonds inside of one vault and fix them. And then, I think it's like...
it sounds like a noble experiment.
And then fucking 15 years later, let's just open the party room that has fucking strippers and just a ton of coke everywhere and let them indulge.
Yeah, that was probably a bad move.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
But imagine, like, that's the day that you die. Like, I've been clean and sober for 10 years, and then fucking party door goes up and just... And your heart stops instantly as strippers dance. Like, that's... What a way to go.
Yeah, you go out with a bang.
So, you know what's one of my other favorite vaults?
Which one?
It could be surmised in one word and one word alone. You know what that one word is?
Yeah, tell me about it.
Gary.
Gary?
Gary.
Gary!
Gary! Fucking
Gary!
Vault 108, they put a bunch of cloning technology inside the vault. And they're all like, I'm afraid to do it. So they make one dude named Gary do it. So this one dude named Gary goes in, and then everybody's name's Gary, and then there's the Gary hierarchy, the Garyarchy, if you will.
Ooh, the Garyarchy.
That's, yeah. And they wind up becoming these, like, murdering clones.
Yeah, like, I actually have some notes here. Like, all the initial positions were left unfilled, allowing the terminally ill overseer, Brody Jones, estimated to expire within 40 months of the vault sealing,
like
to fill all of those positions accordingly with himself. because of all the cloning technology that was left there.
Yeah.
And
Wait, was it only him in there?
It was only him. And at some point, he just he mentally decomposed into just Gary.
Wow.
And I think that's nuts.
I think it's insane.
It's one of the more unique social situations. Like, there were some really easy ones, like Vault 21 had all the gamblers.
That's really cool, though. I think that's really, really cool.
That was one of the, I would say, more successful experiments.
Yeah, because they gambled it out of... Well, House gambled it away from them.
Yeah.
What is another good one?
Another good.
What's the one in New Vegas that's the plant one?
I believe 22.
That one's really cool because that one technically worked, except that it made people plant monsters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they found out how to grow shit, but it was like, we got everything we wanted, but at what cost? I also have Vault 29. You know about Vault 29?
I do know a little bit about Vault.
Vault 29 is no one under 15 was allowed in, and their parents were put in other vaults.
That's an interesting one.
You know,
I feel like it would have turned out to be more of like a little lamplight situation.
that would have been kind of cool.
What game is 29 in?
It's not.
Oh, it's not?
I don't believe it's in any game. I think it's referenced or it's in the Fallout Bible.
It is in the Fallout Bible.
Vault 42. Another great one. None of the light bulbs were more than 40 watts.
Like, what was Vault-Tec trying to accomplish with that experiment?
I don't know. How bright is a 40-watt light bulb?
That's like an average light bulb, I think. No, it's an average for an old light bulb.
So, like, what is the light bulb in your room right now?
I don't know.
Yeah, because we're not 40.
Yeah, and it's an LED bulb, so it's whatever.
Welcome to the future.
Yeah.
Huh. Oh, also, Vault 29 might not be even canon whatsoever.
Well, I mean, it has to be because that's where Harold.
I had that written down and forgot to read that. That's very important. Thank you.
That's
Becky.
quite important. Yeah.
That's why I have a co-host.
You need the co-host.
Thank you. So that's the lore. That's all the lore I pretty much have written down.
Yeah, and a couple very interesting vaults.
Yeah, you want to talk about anyone else real quick?
I think 87's worth mentioning.
Okay.
Because that is the vault that we see in Fallout 3, and it is the one that had all of the FEV experiments. For anyone who doesn't know, FEV is the Forced Evolutionary Virus, and it is what ended up creating the super mutants.
And that's the only reason why they should even exist on the East Coast.
Yeah, because of the FEV experiments in that vault.
Yeah, which I was actually thinking of. I don't remember in-game if it says when the super mutants started kind of breaking out of 87. But if you play New Vegas, there are... I don't think there's
only really
any.
Jacobstown.
Yeah, like that's so nuts to think of that. Fallout 2 takes place, I think, 100 and some years after. Because Fallout 1 takes place 84 years after the bombs drop. And I went to public school, so I'm not doing math right now to say the year. But by 2277, super mutants are damn near everywhere in DC.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of that is thanks to whatever Vault-Tec had set in motion for 87. Because if the entire vault was just these experiments around FEV, once they had a successful hit on, or once the super mutants were created, from the super mutants' point of view, they now know how to make themselves. They can make more of them.
They've become sentient.
Yeah. So from there, they can just take anyone that they can find that was pure enough and just make more super mutants, furthering their own mission.
You know who voiced the Master in the first game?
He's a celebrity. A famous one.
I mean, a voice acting celebrity.
Yeah.
Jim Cummings.
Yeah.
You know what Jim Cummings also is most known for voicing?
He's voiced a lot.
Winnie the Pooh. I love that.
Another vault that I really like is 112. It's so important to Fallout 3.
112?
Yeah, it's I love 112 because it is the vault that is basically taken over by Dr. Stanislaus Braun, and he utilizes virtual reality stasis pods to keep everyone in this ideal 1950s nightmare.
It's amazing.
Do you want to tell the viewers or listeners about a little bit more about Tranquility Lane?
So you jump in a pod, right? I never made this connection because they changed what like half of the assets looking for, but they changed the pods in the memory den are the same pods.
Yes.
I don't know why I never made that connection. You know what? And the Memory Den was such a wasted idea. Like, there should have been another quest where I can go in there and like relive a weekend with my wife.
That would have been interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because it would kind of make me feel like you've already taken away enough RPG elements to where I have a backstory.
I mean, Fallout 4 wasn't promised to be strictly an RPG.
No, it's an action game, first person action game with RPG elements. But I'm saying, even well, how do you feel about New Vegas First 3? Which game do you feel is a better RPG and why?
I think New Vegas.
Why?
Because the only thing that you're given is that you've been shot in the head, and you know the person that shot you in the head. You can make whatever you want from there. But I wake up in Doc Mitchell's house and I'm just like, am I feeling evil this time? Am I feeling the person that's going to literally save all of New Vegas? Am I going to just murder Benny and make as much money as I can with a luck 10? Like, you start with nothing. Like, even with 3, you have a family.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you, but I think you have enough of, like, you have a family, but you don't have enough of a family.
Yeah.
Like, your life is shown to you in such little clips that I kind of feel like how you were saying, I could be like, oh, am I evil? Am I this? Am I that?
It's impossible to tell because of how
generic
they make it.
Yeah, but I feel like you could kind of look at 3 the same way, where you could be like, fuck, my dad's gone! Or you could be like, yo, my dad's gone. That means I can leave. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like you could take it kind of in the same direction, but at the same time, it kind of goes against the whole RPG thing because you're saying, Dad. You shouldn't have the backstory.
I mean, that's for an RPG purist.
Yeah, but at the same time, I've never played Earthbound, but Earthbound, the one where you play as Lucas, you have a family.
But it's still one of the best JRPGs of all time.
But do you understand what I'm saying? Like, that's such like a staple of RPGs. Like, that game itself. Like, when people think, like, oh, what's a great RPG, they automatically go to Earthbound. But, like, maybe because you're the victim, in that sense. More or less.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, any other vaults you want to bring up? Oh, well, we didn't even talk about 112.
Yeah, you didn't talk about 112.
So, 112, they put everybody in the Vision Memory Den, Johns.
The stasis pods.
The stasis pods, thank you. And I love that it's all black and white.
Yes.
Like, that's such a great touch that the whole, like, I remember the first time I played that, I was like, oh, yeah.
Like, I'm in some kind of virtual thing.
Yeah.
Because the only applicable virtual representation of the time was in black and white with the black and white televisions.
Yeah.
There were only a very small amount of color televisions that would have been available at the time, based on how technology had evolved. And we know that because of 76 and how that's placed.
Yeah.
But back to 112.
Yeah.
You enter Tranquility Lane.
You go to Tranquility Lane, right? And you're like, oh, cool, everything's black and white, and I'm in a cul-de-sac. And you're just kind of walking around, and then you're like, wait, hold on, Pip-Boy. And you bring up your Pip-Boy, and you're just wearing a watch, and then you're like, wait, this is a tiny arm. And you zoom into third person, and you're a child. And then you start doing these quests for this, like, little girl. And you're like, hey, little girl, what the fuck's going on? And she's like, oh, you can help me and do this. And then you have to... Little Jimmy Nussbaum?
I can't remember.
Yeah, he has, like, a lemonade stand, and she's like, go over there and fuck him up. So you walk over there, and this kid's trying to feed his family, and then you punch him in the mouth, and then you kill his mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. You either make her fall down the stairs or drop the chandelier on her.
All to try to appease this seemingly little girl.
Yeah, and then it turns out the little girl...
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert for people who haven't played a 10-year-old game. You're listening to a Fallout podcast. I assume that you fucking beat the game already.
Of course.
You find out this little girl is this doctor who was like one of the head scientists for Vault-Tec from 200 years ago, and your dad has been in the pod the whole time as the dog... Forgot to mention the dog. The dog that's standing next to her. So she starts talking in this creepy fucking German accent. Not to say that German accents are creepy, but when it's coming out of a 9-year-old girl...
It's off-putting, to say the least, yeah.
And then, like, so then she's like, they're like, you need to become the pint-sized slasher. And you're just like, I'm sorry, and they're like, yeah, put this clown mask on and take this knife and kill everybody in the neighborhood.
Everyone.
Everybody. There is blood everywhere. So you can either do that or you can go into a house. Did you ever do the house thing?
I did the house thing.
You can go into the house and you can be like, boop, boop, beep, boop, 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 beep. And then Chinese communist simulation comes out and just kills the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And that gets you the good karma. That's my
gets you the good
favorite.
karma.
That gets you good karma.
Yeah.
Get the communists.
Well, I forget how we figured it out the first time, but figuring out the sequence of bringing up the
Yeah.
in-game like hacking the mainframe, it's difficult.
You have to, like, click a gnome, click a bottle, click a book, click a mailbox.
It's this like entire sequence of events, and then
Yeah.
like the living room turns into a computer room,
Yeah.
and then you can spawn the Chinese communists.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's an unforgettable vault, and
Oh,
it's so
by
integral to
far.
the story of Fallout 3.
I'm, like, upset that I forgot to write it down.
That's why I'm here for you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
So, anything else any other vaults you want to talk about? I think those were kind of the most interesting ones, but we'd like to hear from our viewers. Tell us about your favorite vault. You can tweet us at just Atomic Radio, right?
Atomic Radio Hour.
At Atomic Radio Hour.
Atomic Radio Hour on Twitter. Send us 200 and whatever the fuck characters it is now, and I'll read them.
Yeah.
That was a shitty slogan.
Yeah, you want to try again?
No. Atomic Radio Hour podcast.